Hello, world.
You're an ass. You're a fucking asshole.
I thought you were gonna press the button.
In all honesty, I expected him to do the nut button.
There it is.
Alright. So, I'm Mr. Bones. Hello. I'm the host of this roundtable discussion, as always. We have good old Captain Comedy.
Ayo.
We have the Fluff.
You can't tell it now because I don't have a neck, but I'm headbanging.
And then we have the astronaut who keeps flying away from the group, Apollo.
If you look up there, you'll see him.
They put me up here for
We're
my
going to
birthday.
discuss our favorite game.
I like
Just
how
found on
Apollo's
Steam.
No, we're not going to talk about that. Because the name of that game will get anyone on YouTube banned. We do not mention World War II leaders. Let's just say there is a special trilogy involving a very prominent figure from World War II.
You're saying we don't talk about Swagalini?
Okay.
I thought you were going to say tortellini.
Just so everyone's aware, we got some people drinking some pineapple juice, normal things. I've got a nice little twisted tea.
Why'd you have to bring attention to it?
Because I'm making this, I have a twisted tea to calm my nerves, because for the last 2 days straight, I'm an IT person. I think I have a relative good understanding of technology. Everything technology related to me has decided to flip me off in the last 48 hours. Like, the biggest fuck you, go burn in hell kind of style. So, first story, which I don't know if I actually told any of you guys, but I was about to throw my router out the fucking window Friday night, I believe it was. Yes, Friday night.
I did not hear about that.
So what happened was, about a couple months back, I switched over from the ISP I had, which I will talk about them, Frontier, pieces of fucking shit. I don't care. I lived with them for years because I was forced as the only ISP in my area, and this is a great story of just how bad they are. At one point when they were installing a router, they gave me an empty router box with no wires. That is a true story. But
I could bring up the story of you shipping something without a power cable.
I put the power cable in there. We're getting off topic, but so I switched over from Frontier to a new service provider I actually love. Great service, good pricing. A little on the high side, but I get fiber optics, which is amazing. When I switched over, I just plugged in an Ethernet cable to my PC and my Xbox and everything else I use in my room, because I have like 100 Ethernet cables. Why wouldn't I? I made sure the duplex is set right, it runs fine. Well, later on when I got my new phone, I actually needed to get the Wi-Fi password, and if you don't know this, there's actually a command prompt you can run when you're connected by Ethernet to pull your key password from whatever you're connected to. So I never need to write down the password. And it wasn't written down on the router. The password, or the command, is nesh, WALN, show profile, an equal sign, and in quotations the name of the network, key equals clear. Now I do this command, and when I punch it in, it says network not found. And I kind of like stop for a second, like, wait, why am I not finding my own network? I'm plugged in, I'm reading the name directly, so I just type in without key equals clear to see if it finds the network. It doesn't find it anywhere in the listing. I hit just show profile to see what available networks. It is still showing that I was running on my old Frontier name. I was like, that's not right. Yeah, because the network does not exist anymore. Like, that is a dead network, they pulled everything, router no longer exists. So, I do a little bit of research, and it's like sometimes when porting over from different ISPs, you have to restart the router, clear the connection for the names to update. So I do that. It doesn't work. I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. So doing some more research, I can't figure out why it's not porting the name correctly. At this point, I'm like an hour and a half in studying, and I'm like, all right, this is getting a little too complicated. I'm just going to go look for the password. I always give my parents the password. I lived with them at the time because it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Because fuck our humming. But go to them because I gave it to them to set up their phone. They lost it because baby boomers. What else can I say? So I don't have the password, and I cannot ping my own password from the command prompt. What do you think my solution is to fix this?
Simplest solution is make a new password.
You can't make a new password for your router unless you actually like go through your ISP directly, and at this point it's midnight.
Make a new password.
Throw it out the window.
Throw it out the
No,
window.
don't throw it out the window. Throw it out the window is the very last.
The solution I came up with was to take one of my family members' phones, who was connected to the Wi-Fi, okay? And there is a special with Androids where you can just click Share Network Connection. And when you do so, it pops up a QR code. So what I did was, my phone that was connected to the Wi-Fi, I killed the connection, my phone I was trying to swap over, scanned the QR code. When it scanned the QR code, it registered the password, and in that brief second, I pulled the password and then imported it into my PC, and that updated the name of the network. Is that not... Yeah, that sounds so fucking stupid and ridiculous to just update the name of your network. This was just Friday night. It's Sunday. So now, what happened, which I was telling these guys about just a couple minutes ago before we started, the new phone I bought. I'm not well-versed in SIM cards. These guys here are probably actually more well-versed in it with me, because I've only had like 3 phones my entire life. One of them being iPhone, because I needed to program for Safari. So, basically, I was under the assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm staying with the same carrier of a device, like I'm not switching plans, I'm staying with the same carrier, the SIM cards are compatible between the phones, which means they're the same size, I should just be able to pop out that SIM card and put it in the new phone, right?
Depends on how old the phone is that you're going from into. Because even though they're the same size and they fit, it's probably...
I think it was a 4-year difference, 4 or 5 years.
It might be enough. Sometimes
it was going from an iPhone 7 to a Google Pixel 6.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, it's completely different phones.
Well,
very different.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is the SIM card actually worked perfectly fine. It actually didn't have any issues. What happened was, the carrier was the bullshit issue. Because when I go to actually try it, it's like, this phone, or this SIM card was not activated on this phone, please insert it into the other device. And I'm like, wait, why is it doing that? So I call up the carrier, and they literally just straight up say, we only allow you to use the device you activated the SIM card in, you are not allowed to swap it. That is what they told me over the phone.
Which is common.
It depends. Some carriers will just take the SIM card and put it in the new phone. That's one of the easiest ways for them to transfer your shit over.
That's kind of what I've seen. I mean, most of the SIM cards I've ever seen have been Verizon. But, like, under my assumption, you could just always swap out SIM cards. All that was just the phone number. It was just phone number and the call and text log.
Oh, it's way more than just that.
It used to be way more, but in recent years that's been changed.
Because a lot of shit's saved on different things.
A lot of shit's moving to cloud now.
Yeah.
But basically, they say, oh, you just need, I give them the IME, I give them the phone number, I give them the serial number of the phone, and they literally look and like, alright, no, your phone's good and everything, you just need a new carrier SIM card. So I just need a brand new SIM card. And they go, yes, would you like to purchase one from our website? And I'm like, no, I don't really want to wait because I need my phone tomorrow. They're like, that's understandable. And I'm like, do you have retailers nearby? And I found out they sell one at Walmart. So I just go over to Walmart, grab a SIM card kit, and I come back home, I plug it in, it's working, and then when I go to activate it on their website, it's like, error, we do not support this. Then I'm like, that's not right. I double check the numbers. Error, we do not report this. Triple check, and I hit it again. It's like, we are having an issue currently. Please contact us at so-and-so's number or wait. I'm like, alright, this is fucking bullshit. I'm calling them again. Call them again, and at this point, I'm pissed off. Like, it's going through my voice, because this was 2 hours in of dealing with the phone after all the bullshit Friday with the router. So on the phone, I'm just trying to get this phone to work. Is this phone supported by your company? Yes or no? And it's a Google Pixel, and they're like, I don't know what a Google Pixel is. I go to the web store, they're selling a Google Pixel. So they do support some forms of Pixels. And the main issue was, and what I was calling with them, what they described to me was, they said there was an issue with the area code, which doesn't make sense because they've supported my area code before. I don't know why they're suddenly saying they can't. But basically, I just had to give up on them. Like, they said, we cannot help you. We will not support this phone. They didn't say there's anything wrong with the phone model. They didn't say there's anything wrong with the IME. They just basically said, we will not do this. So at that point, I'm done. I just went to Google. I'm waiting 6 hours to get that set up for other reasons. But yeah. Thoughts on my chaotic weekend of tech bullshit?
Sounds like you need a drink is what you need.
I have a drink.
Drink more.
I think we
If
need...
anybody's out there fucking accusing me of supporting alcoholism, I only support it if it's gonna help you. Don't fucking drink to kill yourself.
I'm also drinking lighter than I normally do too.
You wanna...
I can't convince him to do something I like to try to convince him to do.
I need your help with this. I
What?
think you need a busta.
No.
There you go.
But yeah, I really wanted to rant about that. Because that's been bothering me since I got home.
We can tell.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I expected that to also take longer. That was, what, 10 minutes?
Yeah, about.
I actually even put there, they wanted to do a Let's Talk for a while, and I guess we could just combine them. They want to do a Monster Hunter Let's Talk.
Now, I'm just gonna warn everybody from this point on watching the video. Pause it. Go get a snack, go get a drink, go get a nice comfy blanket, because we're going through all the generations.
No, we're not. I'm cutting it off at an hour. I don't care. They only get the remaining time period of an hour. So Apollo and Captain here, who I realize I sometimes refer to as Iron because we go way back. These two fucks. One of them claims not to be a Monster Hunter nerd. These are the biggest Monster Hunter nerds I have ever met in my life.
What other people you know are like, what you would even consider close?
Yeah.
Like,
You know, that's also
you talk to.
I don't have many friends.
Like, as I said, what are you talking about, man?
Alright, these two are huge Monster Hunter nerds. They've done this just talking to me for hours. And I think it's a good time to talk about it because Rise came out for Xbox. I believe we actually have the DLC coming out for Xbox soon, don't we?
Probably
months.
within like I'm gonna guess April.
Yeah,
April.
that's when the final title update comes out for PC.
They have way more experience on Monster Hunter than me and Fluffy here, who have only played World and Rise. And I don't
That's
even...
all I've played, really. Okay, I played one other game a little bit.
Yeah, you played one other game, but you know the lore about everything else.
I have maybe 10 hours in another game.
But you know everything else about the other games.
No, not everything.
Iron, you're the one who told me about 4.
4.
Shut up.
He can't admit it. He can't admit it.
Fuck you, I'm playing as Frieza in fucking Risk of Rain 2.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, I'm just gonna hand it off to you guys. Go ahead.
Alright, where should we start?
you start off, and I'll kind of play off.
In the time before time, there was the ancient civilization. A highly advanced civilization that, well, as is tradition in all fantasy when there's an ancient civilization, they were ridiculously advanced for some reason. They basically controlled the world, and they were able to take what are essentially minor deities and use them as spare parts to build things.
Yeah.
Needless to say, said minor deities eventually got mad and destroyed the ancient civilization.
Like Atlantis or Detroit.
Wait, hang on. I am very confused. I thought we were talking about Monster Hunter.
We
We
are.
are.
Wait, is this actual
This is
lore of
actual-
Monster Hunter?
Yeah,
Star
this is
Lord,
actual
yeah.
lore.
This is the actual Monster Hunter lore.
You can tell how much I pay attention to the game.
This ancient civilization is where some of the more advanced weapons like the gun lance, the charge axe, or charge blade, the switch axe, and the bow guns come from. You know, which makes sense. Why the fuck do they have these weird esoteric kind of weapons when the rest of the time they're using swords and lances
And long pokey sticks.
and very long pokey sticks? It's
And
because
bugs.
they found these ancient. Yeah, and it's because they found these ancient weapons from an ancient civilization that the hunters, especially the like really really good ones, like the ones you always play as, are descendants of this civilization. Like they're specially bred hunters who were like their soldiers that were fighting said minor deities during their war. No, I'm not bullshitting you. This is still the lore.
Yes, it is.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I'm listening to a Final Fantasy
Yes.
prologue right now.
To be honest, it's probably Monster Hunter is probably a prelude to all the Final Fantasy games.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to pull some bullshit like that, honestly. Considering Behemoth is in world.
Fallout.
I don't know. Is Konami is fucking Capcom and Square Enix owned by the same parent company? I don't think they are.
I don't think so, but they have done collabs with each other. Quite a few of them.
Sonic
So,
and
fast forward.
connected. Anyways,
Humanity is basically all but extinct. Their empires are gone. One of their biggest nations, Shrade, has been destroyed supposedly by a single creature in one night.
actually in lore they say it's not even a creature; it's just an event.
Yeah, they call it an event. The name of the creature is given to it because it's the name of the event has a name, and eventually describe. Oh fuck! It wasn't just like a cataclysm. There was a thing that caused this, and they gave the name of the cataclysm to the creature. But fast forward. Humanity is starting to build up, and they create the Hunters Guild with the help of the Wyverians, which are like half monster people. And the guild's job is basically, okay, we fucked up and messed with the balance of nature once, we are not going to fucking let that happen again. So now they go around hunting monsters that are starting to cause problems in the environment and usually making things worse in the long run.
Yeah.
You know, as humanity tends to do in all of these fantasy things, and in real life.
And then they go too far, and then they really stir up some shit.
Fast forward to Monster Hunter 1.
Wait, we're just now at 1?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's all the backstory of the
That's
fucking
the
Monster Hunter games.
Story.
And you actually find hints of this throughout the series. You'll have, like, the tower in one of the Monster Hunter games.
Oh yeah.
Which is, again, this is one of the said minor deities. They're called Elder Dragons. Picture your standard four-legged, two-winged dragon, but it's completely, like, its scales are metal. It's called Kushala Daora. They use its scales and bones as mortar for this gigantic sky tower.
Hang on, wait. I just want to make sure I heard this right. You're telling me these ancient civilizations worship elder dragons as gods?
No, they basically use them as livestock.
Okay.
But you know, in lore, these things are basically like would be like on par with like minor deities. Their very existence in an ecosystem alters the ecosystem passively.
Yeah.
Like,
Like constant,
one of
like constant storms.
Yeah, some of them will cause like hurricane force winds in the area just by being there. Others will cause massive thunderstorms, heat waves that literally will dry out and cause massive droughts in areas. Like literally just passive events that happen just from them moving into an area. And these things basically
things that would seem natural is actually coming from them.
Yeah, basically.
like
Like you would
I
think
mean,
like, oh, something like, oh, the environment's acted kind of weird.
it's like, oh man, we've had a weird drought lately. But it's weird that it's only in like this like 15 square mile area. That's kind of weird. You find out there's actually one of these things that made its like den in the center of that area, and it's causing a massive drought in the surrounding 15 miles. And these things were basically used as livestock by that civilization.
That's interesting.
Unfortunately, some of these elder dragons are ungodly powerful to the point where they genuinely are considered gods.
Yeah.
Like, they are thought of as gods made flesh or demon gods sent to punish everything. Again, this is actual lore. But we'll fast forward. The guild is established to try to keep the balance of nature so this shit doesn't happen again, so that these elder dragons don't try to wipe out humanity again. Things go kind of smoothly. First game, you're just a random hunter, doing your thing, going along, slaying bigger and bigger things that are causing problems in the ecosystem, or just for various villages encroaching on the village territory, trying to keep the balance and keep the peace, until eventually you, non-canonically now, get sent to fight the very thing that destroyed an entire nation in a single night several hundred years ago. Of course, that got changed because canonically that doesn't happen until World now, despite the fact that it's the final boss of the first game, but we're just going to move on because, you know, Capcom timeline logic.
Oh, you want to talk about the anti-dragon weapon?
Oh!
The main reason why the civilization got destroyed.
See, like I said, this is an advanced civilization, but they also created a bunch of specifically designed weapons to kill these elder dragons. One of them is very common throughout the game. It's called the Dragonator, also known as a giant fuck-off spear.
That spins.
That spins. That's one of these anti-dragon weapons that the ancient civilization invented, because no one could figure out, let's make a giant fucking spear.
Giant pokey stick.
But there's another one. Now, if anyone has ever watched Full Metal Alchemist, you'll see where I'm going with this.
Okay.
They tried to create something called the Equal Dragon Weapon, also known as the Wyvern Machine Soldier.
That sounds horrifying.
It was.
A cyborg created from a combination of their advanced technology and the body parts of anywhere from 10 to 100 elder dragons. Mushed together.
All different types of elder dragons.
Different types, different species, lesser creatures like wyverns, all mashed together in an ungodly, unholy combination of science and borderline mysticism.
I heard a quack.
Like a
That was my
Frankenstein's monster, basically.
I don't know why, but when you said Full Metal Alchemist with that description, just because I know Brotherhood best, my mind went to like envy, just the monster mass.
Now, there is a thing where it's not 100% certain if this thing is canon anymore, because this was from an old lore book from like
Japan.
From really early in the series.
Like there's concept art of it, but it looks gnarly. It's big, and just made to just destroy other elder dragons.
In the little gamers chat for the VC, I'm posting a picture of it so bones can see it.
No, I'm lazy. It's not going to be edited on here.
Yeah, that's fine.
But that's what it looks like.
Also, I don't see where you posted it at all.
The little specific for voice chat one on the top right, you have to click on the little chat bubble on the top right that we say about all the time.
Ah, I see it. Oh my god, is that it?
Yeah. It's not in the text chat list on the left, Bones. Get
I'm
that
not
on the
looking
right.
in the text chat.
So
Okay.
hover over the actual thing, like the chat that we're in. You'll see the little
Got it.
text
I
bubble.
got it.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody fucking. Yep, that reminds me from Envy from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah,
Think of Envy
no.
with wings and red.
Now,
And metal.
as you can
And metal,
imagine,
yeah.
these basically, again, deities weren't fucking happy about this. Because it literally was taking anywhere from 10 to 100 creatures to make one of these.
Yeah, I'd be pissed off too.
And this thing was specifically designed to just kill.
Mhm.
Now again,
What the
it's debated on whether it's canon or not now. Because it was built for the first generation. But
I say we leave this thing as canon and bring it in a later game.
because Gen 1...
Everyone wants it, honestly. It looks fun to hunt.
Yeah, Gen 1 Monster Hunter was a lot different. Because it was a lot more built around, oh fuck, how the fuck are we surviving in this goddamn universe? When, there's fire-breathing dragons everywhere.
Basically, the populations are so small, you're basically in, like, small, primitive villages.
Like, throughout the series, there's, like, very small villages that have, maybe 100 people at max. The reason why these villages never fucking interact with each other is because all the goddamn fucking T-Rexes that shoot fireballs that are wandering around civilization, like, on the outskirts. Whenever there's a monster that gets discovered in one place, people from the guild will go out and ask different villages, hey, have you seen this thing before? Do you have a name for it? If you do, and tell us some information about it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's Devil Joe. We call it Devil Joe. It just fucking eats literally everything that exists, and it hates everything. We literally, if we hear that one's in the area, we just pick up and pack up and get the fuck out of here. And everyone else was like, ah, cool, you could have told us that, because we had 17 people get eaten by one 3 weeks ago. But there's also the fact that the older games, it was supposed to be a lot closer to, like...
Survivalist.
The Monster Hunter is actually heavily inspired by Berserk.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, very similar to Dark Souls. It was very heavily inspired by Berserk.
Berserk has done that to many a games.
And that's, like, if you actually look at a lot of, like, the lore and everything, especially from the older games and how things are structured and look and everything, it is a lot more grim and dark and, like, fuck, this is not good kind of world. Whereas now it's like, oh, cool, you killed 17 of those things? Great, awesome, that was really cool of you. Here's a fucking corn cob on a stick. There's your weapon now.
Food.
Whereas the older games are like, okay, I can use those parts to make a slightly stronger weapon. It'll give you a very slight advantage. Barely noticeable, but you'd probably rather have this advantage rather than not. It's going to take a lot of money, too. Also, you're dirt poor in the older games, because money is ridiculously hard to come by.
Absolutely.
And
More
lore
so
is-
than now it is?
yeah, oh my... Rise
Yes.
is closer to the older games in terms of money than most of the newer games, but the older games were awful.
Okay.
The older games were notoriously, oh my god, I am broke, I have to hunt this thing 15 times and sell the parts because I am... But as the games went on, there kind of became a very common theme throughout the games. And it was established in the first one, kind of, where... First game, there's a siege monster. Siege monsters, the whole point of them is they're big fuck-off monsters. You can't really do anything. You have to usually use cannons, ballistae, the giant fuck-off Dragonator spears, and try to redirect them to go another route. Because they're going to charge through a fucking village, or some other thing of that nature. They're going to destroy this fort.
Mhm.
First one was called Lao Shenlong. It is literally just four-legged... It's basically like a worm. Not a worm, a drake. 4 legs, it just walks forward and roars. But it roars so loud that fucking rocks from, like, nearby cliffsides start falling down. Turns out it's running from another monster. And it's the final boss of the online.
Mhm. And also, the Lao Shenlong that you fight isn't fully grown. It is.
Yeah, no.
It's a child.
It's a child, and yet it's still big enough. They're like, this thing will literally plow through this village if we do not redirect. This started the theme of the Monster Hunter games to just, okay, here's the monster that's causing the problem. Congratulations, you'd have redirected it / killed it. Oh, wait.
So did that theme also start with Gen 1?
Yeah, but it wasn't as
Prominent.
mainly because the monster that was the final big bad was online exclusive, and it was hidden behind a really weird requirement, where in the original game, to unlock Fatalis, you had to do every online...
Wait, it was Fatalis?
Yeah, Fatalis was in the first game. It was the
Oh,
final...
is that why World fucked with the lore of it?
Yeah, because in World, canonically, World is now where you first fight Fatalis, when originally you fought it as the hidden final boss in World, in Monster Hunter 1. Because offline, the final boss was Monoblos, which is basically just Diablos with only one horn, and most people prefer it, and they think it's a lot cooler looking. I can agree, it's a cool looking monster.
It is.
Online, the final boss was Gravios, which is this just big fuck-off fire missile shooting behemoth made of stone.
I'm sorry, but when you said Gravios.
Gravios.
It made me think of a crab with a duck head.
It's the big... Remember Basarios and Rise? It's that, but fully grown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that thing is the final boss of the online. Of the hub quests. But if you complete every hub quest, not just the ones that are required... That, by the way, in the older games, you didn't get told which ones were the required quests. You just had to do them and figure it out and get lucky. So it wasn't uncommon for people to have every single hub quest done, because the game does not tell you which ones are the required and which ones are optional.
Yeah, they just do it. Like, okay, I need...
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm
but
bored. I'm gonna
you had to
do it.
complete
Oh,
every
what's
single
that
one
next
of them.
quest?
And then you had to kill, I think, 100 Rathalos, which is like the flagship monster of the series. You had to kill 100 of those. And then it unlocked Fatalis. Now, technically, it's supposed to be the hardest monster in the game, and it is. It's very hard. But the real final boss was Kieran.
Oh, I've heard this.
Picture a fucking Clydesdale with a horn that makes lightning fucking happen. But because the controls of Monster Hunter 1 were so goddamn fucking awful, there was no good way to hit the thing. People in Monster Hunter like to say that the lance is the worst weapon in the game, and they'd be right. It's a pretty shitty weapon now, because it already had its day in the sun in the first generation, where it was the most overpowered weapon in the game, and it was the only way you could fight Kieran. Because it moved too goddamn fast, and your attack buttons wasn't Y and B, or square, or triangle and circle?
Something like that.
Now,
In the old game, it was the right analog stick was what you used to attack.
which is stupid.
It is.
I would like to bring up how at the beginning of this, where we started the Monster Hunter talk, you said, and I quote, "I've only played one other game."
I've watched Let's Plays.
Yeah, Monster Hunter nerds.
Hey, Rage Gaming is a fucking hysterical.
Hey, I'm not knocking on you. I love this series. I just can't get into it as heartedly as you guys.
Go to RageGaming.com.
Or there's Banned Legiacris on Twitter who puts lore shit out on his Twitter.
That's another fun monster.
Then you have Second Generation. That one is, I think, the one I loathe the least. I do not know Second Generation very much at all.
Yeah, neither do I.
I think it's the one where the entire kind of backstory plot of the game is that this one monster called Tigrex is like your nemesis and like keeps showing up and like almost killing you or knocking you unconscious by sending you off a fucking cliff when or just appearing when you're doing a really minor quest. And to get your character's story is becoming a strong enough, competent enough hunter to eventually take it down. And then all the fucking late game stuff happens where Elder Dragons start appearing and you have to stop them because you're basically the chosen one or whatever.
I actually like that story of it's like, okay, this monster that's really dangerous comes to you early, almost kills you a couple of times, knocks you out, and you spend like most of the game training, hunting, planning to kill this one.
Yeah.
I don't like if it just shoves Elder Dragons later on because you're the chosen one. They could have just ended it there.
Well, I will say, World had at least a good reason why there were so many goddamn Elder Dragons, because that's where they go to die, and we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
So it had a good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, but second generation, they created a bunch of new Elder Dragons, so they just kind of wanted to show them off in, like, Endgame.
I think that's when they added White Fatalis, I think.
I think so.
Here's the thing. Did they improve the controls in second
Yes.
generation?
Yeah.
Monster Hunter 2 is when they actually switched it to button controls. Now, the controls still kind of sucked back then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to the list of monsters and came on the generations. Let's see.
Yeah, the two subspecies of Fatalis, the Crimson Fatalis.
Yeah, there's another thing with monsters is they also have subspecies. So you'll have a base version, and then you'll have a slightly enhanced version that'll appear later.
Yeah.
Oh, Ashen, Laushin, Lung, and Crimson Fatalis came out in Monster Hunter G, which is like an expansion second game that would come out every generation that has added more difficulty. Now it's just a DLC that you can buy for the more modern games.
Mm-hmm.
Third generation, though, is when things really got interesting. This is when they kind of start getting a little weird, but pretty cool with how the games worked.
Oh, they improved the graphics. That's when they switched over. Third generation, they switched over to the Wii, the Nintendo.
Yeah, they switched over to the Wii from the PS2.
I'm actually curious about this. Keep going, but I'm going to look up something really quick.
This is also when they introduced something called underwater combat. Now, it never came back because it was really janky in those games for obvious reasons. It was their first time doing it. It was also on, like, the fucking, 3DS? Or the Wii U?
No, it was on Wii and Wii U.
Was it
Wii and
3
Wii.
that had it? I thought it was 4 that had the water combat.
No, 3 was underwater combat.
And when we're saying 3, we are talking about Monster Hunter Tri, right?
Tri and Portable Third and 3 Ultimate.
Which is actually weird because Tri actually blew up in America.
Yeah, Tri was good, but then the ones that came right after it that had a lot more focus towards the underwater stuff. Tri did. Portable Third and I think 3 Ultimate were more focused on it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's what kind of killed a lot of the interest.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was very hit or miss. It was janky.
Yeah, because for the Switch, you literally had unless you actually had a attachment for your 3DS. Put it on.
Just to go a little nerd here, because we were talking about the improvement. So apparently, when Tri came out, they switched to the multi-threaded framework engine, which was used in things like Dead Rising and Lost Planets.
Yeah, it was a very good fucking
it looked
engine.
amazing.
Yeah.
It looked great.
And it's included on some titles of the old Resident Evil remastered series. It looks like remastered ports specifically.
Yeah, so like it's a solid engine that they used.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It targets Wii and PlayStation 3. Yeah, I don't know that much about that engine, but that sounds.
But if you've ever seen
engine.
Dead Rising, you know Dead Rising looks for its time like a very solid game, and it controls and works pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that janky. It's just old Monster Hunter controls were just janky from how they designed it.
Yeah. Some other notable ones that used this were Mega Man games. Apparently, by the way, Monster Hunter Generations like Ultimate in them actually used just the older version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And in third gen is when they also kind of like expanded like how the creatures really, really looked. Because before in Gen 1, you literally had raptors that just looked like velociraptors. That's all they were. You had wyverns. And then you had Piscine wyverns, which were literally just the same thing, but they looked more fishy. And that's pretty much all you had in the first game. Second game, I think, added fanged
the
beasts.
bipedal one, like the wings were like the actual arms.
Yeah, it added this what are called nicknamed the pseudo wyverns, which are basically just they're the wyverns, 2 legs, 2 wings, but they use their wings as pseudo arms.
Yeah. big
Mhm.
bulky front arms, so like they have like big wing
And
membranes.
in second gen added fanged beasts, if I remember.
Yep, they
It,
had
it expanded those a lot more. With made it
Bullfango.
more mammalian monsters.
Yeah, they had like the mandrill.
Kongala. Yeah, that Kongalala, I think.
Yeah, Kongalala. The farting gorilla.
Yeah, it eats
Farting
mushrooms,
gorilla.
and the different mushrooms give it different effects.
Yep.
So we kind of fell back on Gen 2, going back to Gen 3. Like, what was the ending of Gen 3? Because I honestly don't know anything about
Gen 3, the base plot of Gen 3 is you're in this like small fishing village, and you're like you've become a hunter in the village.
Yeah, basically, like the village is literally like tied to like these massive boulders that are basically connected to the seafloor. But for some reason, there are massive earthquakes happening. It's
So they're
literally
like
shaking the village apart, and if you don't stop it, the village would literally fall apart and fall into the ocean.
Yeah. So you find this monster, a new monster type called the Leviathan class, which are like sea serpents, but they have 4 legs.
Yeah.
So they can go on land. It's the new monster class, and you find out the flagship of the game, the Geocris. Yeah, that's the one causing it. So eventually you become a strong enough hunter. You actually meet it very early on in the game, and it's literally impossible to kill. It has infinite health. You can't kill it no matter what you do. And you get strong enough to take it down, and everyone's like, "Oh, great, you did it! Congratulations, champ!" And then the earthquakes continue. Turns out there's a giant whale with horns that's using the Sidaeus that's using the boulders in the same way that a rodent will whittle away its teeth on things. It's doing the same thing with its horns that just continuously grow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's trying to basically file its horns down because one of them is a bit overgrown, and you have to go down and fucking repel it or get rid of it
or kill it.
Yeah, and that's
the music for it.
That's the plot of 3.
That's the plot of 3. Yeah, simple plot, but effective.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That actually is like a cool like plot twist at the end there. Is 3 the one with the unkept frame rate?
I don't know.
I can't remember which one has the uncapped frame rate.
It might be one.
Yeah, I think it's actually 4, because 4 was the one where it was exclusively on portable systems.
Okay, because there was one that was uncapped, which, man, if you use that in an emulator, oh boy,
it just insta crashes because it was for the 3DS, and modern PCs are so much stronger than the 3DS. Your frame rate will go up to like 6,000 and insta crash.
Yeah,
I don't speak from experience or anything. Anyway, then you had the Ultimate expansion, which in the base and they also had the portable version, which was slightly different but similar. That you had 2 new high-end Elder Dragons, Black Dragon class, Elatrion and Dire Moralis. Dire Moralis is just Fatalis, except landbound, and it's Volcano.
Yeah.
And Elatrion is the fucking Avatar.
Yeah, basically. Elatrion back
bloodthirsty.
Then, it hit like a tank, but if you block and everything, and you knew
it was
like where to
pathetic.
hit, it was super easy.
It was literally one of the easiest monsters in the game. It hit like a truck, but it was really easy to read and really just avoid its attacks.
It also helped everyone back then had our favorite weapon, the Kelby Bow.
4th gen, most people consider 4th gen the one to have the best plot in the series.
Completely just bypass the Kelby Bow.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not bringing up the Kelby Bow.
4th generation, the plot was there's this weird thing going on where monsters are seemingly dying, but not long after, they're getting back up, and they're going into a frenzy and just murdering everything they come across until their bodies give out and they die again. So basically there's a zombie plague going on.
Wait, you're serious?
Yes.
Oh,
there's essentially a zombie plague going on, and it's nicknamed the Frenzy Virus.
Please tell me it's like an actual disease.
No, I will tell you what it is. But basically, this thing is so dangerous. Very low tier monsters, like the first monsters you fight in the very beginning of the game, are able to fight and kill end game monsters.
Okay.
Because it's just boosting them up that much. Like, Bones, you would appreciate this one especially. I'm trying to think of one that was in... remember Great Baggy?
Yeah.
Yeah, great bag.
Great Bag would be able to take down Zenogre.
Ogre. Yeah.
Really?
That's
When
actually
it's
a cutscene.
It's a different monster, but it's the same like weight class as Great Baggy.
Hmm.
It's able to take it down. It and its pack are able to take it down. But then the Zenogre gets infected by the virus by proxy and gets back up and basically breaks the spine of the Great Baggy, or Great Jaggy is what it was. And its little minions, which are also hopped up on the virus, turn on it and go after it now. So it's just this crazy fucking thing where everything's just killing each other, and you're kind of with this group, kind of helping out this elite team of hunters, one of which is actually a character that appears in Monster Hunter World.
Wait, is it that knight that never really like showed his face?
No, remember the fucking kid that's like has that stupid fucking like pinkish red mohawk kind of thing?
Oh, the one that you met like really early on?
Yeah, you meet in the opening cutscene. Yeah, him. He's like the rookie attached with these guys.
Fuck him!
And you kind of help him out too. This is actually why he's with the 5th Fleet and 5th Gen, because he's just that good. And you track down. It's being caused by a monster, frenzy virus, called Gore Magala. Its scales, whenever it's blind, and it uses its scales because it can kind of use them to sense things around it. And it has antennae that assist with its senses. So what it'll blanket an area with its scales so it can see what's around it. The problem is, when creatures breathe in its scales, it essentially it causes the frenzy virus. But this is also how Gore Magala hunts. It protects itself with the scales by causing everything around it to basically go on a rampage and kill everything. And then it just strolls by and starts eating the corpses.
Interesting.
So it's self-defense, sensory, and a hunting method all at once. But the problem is it wipes out ecosystems when it does this. And there's not just... Canonically, you're following one Gore Magala in particular throughout the game. There are other Gore Magala around that you do take down. Because
there is one that...
But there's one in particular that appears in all of like the major cutscenes that always escapes every time you corner it.
First
at the end of the game,
you're on a ship, and you go to fight it on the ship as like you're going across the ocean.
And it escapes, it flies away. Then you encounter it a couple more times until it's revealed at the end of the game. You track down where it is. This like sacred mountain, basically. It's like ridiculously cool where it is. It's the sanctuary, I think. Mm-hmm. Or is it the Heaven's Mount is where it is.
Yeah.
It's this like sacred area on top of this massive mountain is where you track it down to. And you see it, and it looks way bigger than normal.
Yeah.
And then its black shell, black scales, crack and reveal that's just its outer shell. And out from Gore Magala comes the fully grown, because Gore Magala was just the child. The Elder Dragon Shagaru Magala, which is the fully developed version, that is got more control over the frenzy virus, more control over its scales, can basically blanket hundreds of square miles with its scales passively, and is going to basically wipe out everything around it if you don't take it down.
Not to mention, it can now see you.
Yeah, now its scales are not covering its eyes anymore,
yeah,
so it can actually see.
Its antenna, so you can see
its antenna has solidified into horns. It can see you. It recognizes you. It knows who you are. You've been hunting it this whole time, and you have a final showdown with it on top of the mountain in this sacred area, which is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome. That actually sounds like a great plot line for it.
And in like the post-game expansion, the G rank expansion, which is now Master Rank, you find out what happened to the ones that weren't able to develop to a Shagaru, because a Shagaru's scales have an effect on Gormagala, where a Shagaru's scales stop a Gormagala from being able to advance to the next stage. So they're stuck as a Gormagala, and they have to leave. There's a problem, though, if the Gormagala is in the process of shedding. It stops it halfway through, which causes a chaotic Gormagala, which is in between states. One of its wings, part of its body, one of its horns is up. The other one is still down, so it can only see out of one eye. One of its wing arms is more developed than the other. It's bigger, its claws are more massive. And it is in excruciating pain because of this. It has attacks from both versions. It's more aggressive, and it just goes
Crazy.
fucking
Ballistic.
nuts. But then there's another problem after you kill Shagaru Magala. See, sometimes when a monster gets affected with a frenzy virus, humans can also do this too. And humans are just a little bit better at it. It's easier for a human because of our physiology. Sometimes a human monster doesn't die from the frenzy virus. They're able to overcome it and keep the stat boosts, but retain their sanity.
Mm-hmm.
Which is when we get Apex monsters.
So that's where the Apex comes
Nope.
from. Oh, okay, never mind.
That's a different Apex, because it wasn't called Apex in Japanese in Rise. Those were called Leader of the Pack monsters.
Oh, no, I was thinking tempered monsters from, like, World.
Tempered monsters were a different thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the plot of 4. And then there's Gen Ultimate, but Gen Ultimate is really just like, it's, hey, fucking let's have everything in. It doesn't really have much of a plot.
Hey! Throw all the games in a stew! There you go.
Basically. We got Deviants in that game, which are just souped up mega versions. You basically fight them as Apex monsters in Rise. They're very similar. But
except for
then
2.
Then we have 5th generation.
Which this is World?
This is World. In 5th generation, they try to make it, this is a full-on RPG.
Hey, Fluff! A monster hunter we can talk about!
There you go.
Now,
Chimed in.
Yeah, they try to make this...
the thing I loved about World was the overall just scale and mechanics to it. Like the first time I hunted like great Jagras in the game, I was like, "Oh God, this is fun!" Because I didn't think I'd be able to like take an insect glaive and start jumping around a giant monster. Like the only ever game I could conceivably think was ever like that was Shadow of the Colossus.
Good game.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I just had to get that out there.
No, it's fine.
But basically, 5th gen, they try to go more full RPG instead of having a story kind of loosely in the background, because even though we've had like really brief summaries of the story, that's pretty much the whole story. 5th gen, they try to make a full-on RPG experience where there's a story going on in the background that's explaining why you're fighting all these things. To make it very simple, you are part of this... You're part of the 5th research fleet to a newly discovered continent nicknamed the New World. There's been 4 for you. The first one was the one that just established base camp. There was a second one that just helped them build more and like gave them more and more supplies and helped them like really expand. There was the 3rd research fleet, which was just more focused on research. No one talks about what the 4th fleet was. Probably just more manpower. And you're part of the 5th and final fleet to really push to make it so that we have a full-on livable area in the New World and can really start pushing our research instead of just guarding our position and keeping things from breaking in.
Mm-hmm.
One of these people is someone who's part of that little group hunting Gormagala in Monster Hunter.
Mohawk Boy.
Yeah,
Ace Hunter.
the excitable A-lister. who was the first NPC in Monster Hunter history to have an actual name. And his canonical name is Aiden.
Really?
Yeah,
They
he's...
gave him a normal fucking name.
Well, it's because they're trying to, because they're just trying to push that he is just a person.
Yeah, also,
you know what I
wasn't
mean?
he just a guy from that fishing village?
No.
Oh.
No.
He was from,
he was a
Sports
full-on
Center.
hunter that was connected to people hunting Gormagala.
Okay.
He's also in the Monster Hunter animated Netflix thing.
Yeah, that's his origin. That's literally his
Which
origin.
is his
Oh,
origin
that's his-
story.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Where
now.
that's how he gets connected to those people when they have to team up to take down a Lunastra that's attacking this village that he's in.
Not attacking. The Lunastra is actually just migrating.
Oh, it's migrating and it's going to destroy the village, so they have to get it the fuck away from the village.
It's like it's not actively trying to kill anybody. It's just migrating because I think it's getting old
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna fly off to the new world.
Trying not
Yeah.
to kill
Because-
anyone. Completely just melts two of the hunters.
Now, we touched on it earlier. So the new world in Monster Hunter lore is where all the Elder Dragons go to die?
Yes. The new world is basically the Elder Dragon burial ground. And this is actually what your characters discover throughout the game as they push further and further in, as essentially you are now the ones. First group cleared everything and established, second group expanded, third group research, fourth group probably was more like standard people doing standard jobs to like really establish like economy, for lack of a better word. You're the ones who are now, okay, go the fuck out, push us further in so we can do proper research now that we've established over the past, 40 years.
Yeah.
As you progress through, and your first interaction with one of these Elder Dragons is this massive living mountain the size of, modern Godzilla that is a walking volcano.
Zora Magdaros has
And
appeared!
you actually start tracking it throughout the game, and as you track it and push further and further in, you find this weird, coral area in the mountains, which it's later revealed, yeah, at one point, all this shit was under the water, but something happened and pushed it upward. And then you fall underneath this coral area, and you find what is essentially a graveyard. The Rotten Vale that's just full of the corpses of all kinds of monsters. Everything that lives here is a scavenger. Everything that lives here is this is just where things tend to go to die. Especially the Elder Dragons.
Mm-hmm. And fun fact about the Rotten Vale, if you really look carefully at the design of it, you'll actually find out you are literally walking in a corpse of a massive monster called a Dalamadur.
Which is a giant fuck-off snake that's several miles long.
Yeah.
Which is a terrifying thing.
So it can be said that the island was literally made of the dead bodies.
Yes, it is literally
absolutely.
Something pushed it up, and then it just got expanded on by these massive fucking creatures dying there.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, what happened was as you're tracking Zora, you find out it's supposed to be going into the Rotten Vale to die. And the energy that it has is supposed to go into the land, expand it, vitalize everything, but it's going deeper in.
Almost like it's being lured in.
It's something is luring it in deeper, and you actually find the Everstream, which is basically the path that this energy kind of travels through. And you get further into this new area that has these massive crystals of this bioenergy growing out of it. And then you go deeper into it, and you find basically a cocoon where there's this giant fuck-off blue energy dragon that's using pheromones to lure these dragons in closer to it so it can feed off the energy. But before you discover that, you have to fucking make the moving mountain go somewhere else, because if it goes where it's going and then dies, It's going to cause a chain reaction throughout the energy stream of the island that's going to fucking blow up the entire goddamn continent.
Yes,
So you have to redirect it into the ocean.
Mhm.
Where it dies in the ocean, and you actually see it at the end of the DLC expansion. However...
Wait, did they actually show it exploding at the end of that?
No. However, it's what the guiding lance is.
Oh, okay.
But basically, or at least it's heavily implied it is. But basically, you continue through, you kill the giant fuck-off blue energy dragon, its corpse falls underground, you keep going, you do your thing, you're a hero for figuring out what's going on and stopping these things from being lured further in. Awesome. Then the expansion comes out.
Yeah, still waiting on Dragonborn.
Shut the fuck up with the Dragonborn bullshit. It wasn't funny the first time.
I know, but
It's been years. It's still not funny.
So, for reference, a dumb joke I said when the DLC came out, it was called Iceborne. And I was like, oh, so it's going to be like ice-themed monsters. What if they just make a DLC for every element? Oh, there's a dragon element. Does that mean it's going to come out with Dragonborn? I think it's hilarious.
Oh no, it's the Dragonborn.
Somebody take your sweet roll.
The Dragonborn comes. But basically, in the Iceborne expansion, the whole thing about it is some of these monsters that you find in that coral area randomly start fucking migrating by the hundreds. And you're like, what the fuck is this? No one's ever seen this before. That's fucking weird. And eventually you follow them, and you find this, like, Arctic area. Its own island to the north. And you start exploring it, you colonize it, because, you're basically the British.
Ah, yes, we found Canada.
See, what happened is you were actually in Australia, now you're in Greenland. Which is a bigger joke than you think when I explained why it's an ice area. You track down, there's another Elder Dragon, there's this weird song that's happening, this weird, humming kind of sound, and there's, earthquakes and everything that happen whenever you hear the song. You see these rumors of...
fucking crazy.
Yeah, monsters are going fucking nuts because of it. It's being heard even in the New World, in, the area from before the expansion. It's being heard everywhere, it's causing problems everywhere, so they're like, fuck, we need to track this down. They find this shit, it's this thing called the Old Everworm. Interesting. You find, a research ship, I think, from the 4th Fleet, or something, or the 3rd Fleet, that was here, but they all died here, so, all of them are gone.
Mm-hmm.
But you're finding some of their notes, and eventually you track down, it's gotta be this monster, this monster, Velcana, it's gotta be that. It was following the, Legiana as they were migrating and trying to, hunt them, and it's gotta be the one responsible for it. So eventually you track it down and kill it. Surprise, surprise!
Nope.
It wasn't responsible. Keep in mind, in the base game, all the Elder Dragons are going crazy in this place, they're supposed to die, so you kill this one that eats Elder Dragons, and they think, oh, that's gonna calm it down. And then they don't calm down, and then you find out the blue fucking energy dragon exists. So literally, immediately after they kill the wrong thing, before they realize they're wrong, 2 years later in lore, they go out, and they kill the wrong thing again. Immediately after they kill it, in the cutscene that plays after they kill it, the fucking song plays, humming weird sound goes again, and the fucking earthquakes happen, and a mountain collapses. Immediately after. It's like, there's one of those...
It's just a middle finger.
It is literally a big middle finger.
Yeah.
But one thing that you find out, this place wasn't always an Arctic area. Not that long ago, probably within the past couple hundred years, this was a very temperate area. This thing, this old Everworm that's causing these collapses, there was a volcano that was, providing all kinds of, heat to the entire landmass. It collapsed the volcano and plugged it up. No more heat. Temperate go cold. It's literally fucking Iceland and Greenland. Literally Iceland and Greenland.
It is!
So this thing literally has destroyed this entire ecosystem passively. Eventually you track it down, you fight Shara Ishvalda, you end it. But hey, the monster that you fought in the previous band, Nerva Gigante, that you think that was eating Elder Dragons, killed because you thought it was going to calm them down. Well, it has a variant that you kill, but it wasn't dead, and it kills Shara in the cutscene after you kill Shara, showing off that, hey, by the way, you guys literally didn't have to do anything because it was coming to kill Shara anyway, so you didn't even have to come out here and almost die.
I think what we need to get into, though, is how does Fatalis come into this?
We're not there yet. There's actually more steps.
I
This
know.
actually is leading into it.
I know, because how many final bosses are there in the world?
Let's see.
Well, you have, technically you have Zeno, then you have Shara, then when Nergigante, Ruiner Nergigante, the variant, flies away after killing Shara, you end up following it and find another landmass, which is heavily implied to be the result of Zora, the big fucking mountain, exploding, and its energy kind of like lifting up parts of the ground under the seafloor, creating this big, massive fucking island with all these massive, diverse ecosystems because of the bioenergy altering the area.
So, guys, I'm gonna have to dip out. Got
Mhm.
dinner and shit.
Yeah, go ahead.
But the gun drop bids all of you degenerates watching this video farewell.
The
The fluff on the table has left.
Fluff on the table, are you leaving? But you follow it, call it the guiding lines, because pretty much every fucking monster in the game can appear here. And
The ones that actually appear there are actually stronger than the normal ones that you fight.
because of all the energy that's in there is passively making them stronger. But you know, you explore it more and more. You find this monster, this big fuck off gorilla that's based on a fucking Super Saiyan shows up and opens up a path into a lava area.
Yeah, you
So
remember
it's like,
Kieran?
it eats the fucking Thunder Pony, where it gets its lightning powers. But it breaks into this area, and we find a new area, and they're like, holy shit, this was here? Fuck, we didn't know that. Even though the admiral of the fleet was actually investigating it, because he's like, this rock is really warm. It's like there's something behind it. It's like it feels weird, and this thing literally punches the wall and breaks a hole through. So, you're cool. Now you got the fire area. More monsters can appear there. But later on, there's an ice area that gets discovered. Cool. And then we discover this weird underground area that goes like hundreds of meters down.
Like it was like carved.
Like carved down this massive fucking tunnel. There's shed skins everywhere. And you actually see the massive husk of the fucking blue fuck off parasite energy dragon. And everyone's like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, that thing was a baby, we were right, oh fuck, oh fuck. And then you see it's fully grown. It looks like your standard Dungeons & Dragons red dragon. Xenojiva was the baby, Safijiva's the fully grown thing. You have a siege, you have to kill it. This thing's ridiculously fucking strong, and genuinely speaking, if it wasn't for game mechanics, you probably wouldn't be able to kill it.
Yeah, because if I remember, Safijiva was a siege where you had to do like multiple fights as
had
a
to
like
fight-
lobby.
You had to fight multiple times, your entire lobby is working together, because what this thing can do, it can drain the energy out of the environment to heal itself. And to, like, just energize it when it starts to get tired. So
Yeah.
what the entire lobby has to do is cause it to completely drain each and every area. So it has to go to the next area to drain energy. And there's meters, and they go down each hunt. And the more you get further and further you get it to go down, the more energy gets drained. So eventually you have to get it where you have to corner it all the way down at the bottom where it cannot go down any further. And that's where you can finally kill it. Realistically, if this thing just left and flew somewhere else, there would be no stopping it. It's genuinely because it didn't leave is literally the only reason why you kill it. And when it's draining the energy of the environment, it's literally leaving the environment as a fucking dead husk. Because there's just no life, there's nothing there for things to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And this is like the fourth boss of the game so far.
This is the...
let's see.
This technically was supposed to be the final boss of Iceborne.
Yes.
The only reason they added two more after this was because fans kind of demanded it when, for an anniversary event, they made new modern renders of these other monsters. So they literally demanded it. This was supposed to be the final boss. It is canonically one of the most powerful beings to exist in the Monster Hunter universe. Not long after you kill it, you get reports that something has been sighted. A really terrifying thing. A black dragon. A Latrion. The fuck-off Avatar dragon. Something that most people in lore think is a myth. In a world where fire-breathing dinosaurs live and lightning-shooting unicorns are known, this is believed to be a legend.
This is actually a little bit more. The adults in this actually tell stories of Elatrion, myths, to scare children to listen to them.
Again, fairy tale. Mythic.
Yeah, these things, like I said, it's... So, like, the fact that these things are considered, like, legendary entities should really show off that, like, no one who sees these things has at the very least lived to tell the tale. So you go and track it down, you fight it in Safajiva's area, everyone's terrified that this thing's existing. Realistically, you don't really need to kill it, because if it gets left alone there, it's not gonna do anything to anybody. But you kill it for some reason. Napala, you can back me up. If no one went to where it lives, there is literally no reason to go. It would respond and attack anybody.
Yeah, no.
These things literally just want to be left alone. There is no reason why you go to kill it. It's not close by.
It will go to like a
Hunter and go burr.
high
basically.
volcanic area that has literally no life at all, and it'll literally just stand there.
Yeah, these things just go where nothing lives. It would have killed everything that lived in on this island and claimed the entire island as its territory.
Mhm.
So realistically, there's no reason we should go, but everyone's like, oh, it's too close. We need to kill it before it causes problems here, and whatever. It's my least favorite fight in the game because it's really weighted towards
Ugh.
element weapons in the game. And if you use a weapon that has shitty element, like a greatsword, you're fucked. And it's really hard to beat. But after you kill it, you're like, wow, that was real. What other creatures are real? That was one of the black dragons. That was insane. And then people are literally like saying, there were these people that came and told us not to investigate further, that it was a bad idea to look further into those things, that you should just stop, pretend it never happened. And then you get a new event. The fucking the commander of the guild army shows up and says, we need your assistance. We've identified something in our research and have found out the kingdom of Shrade, it wasn't a random calamity. There was something there that destroyed it. The Fatalis event wasn't an event. It was a creature that did this destruction. And they're like, we need the best hunters you have. We need to come up with a plan. We need to kill this thing because our research says it's whatever's there is starting to become active. And if it decides to leave, we're kind of fucked because it's probably going to destroy another fucking nation. We need to kill it now before it decides to leave its nest.
Mm-hmm.
So you travel back to the old world. You travel to Shrade. You get there and it's like, holy shit, this is destroyed. This is like crumbling. And the commander is like, so they left. And then the fucking captain of the fleet, of the research fleet's like, no, they didn't. Fuck off. They stayed and fought. You can tell, because if they left, everything would be destroyed. The fact that this shit's still kind of intact means they fought, and it didn't have the energy to wipe everything down to rubble. And the fucking commander just kind of looks at the captain like, bitch, did you just interrupt me? But it also has the look of, fuck, he's kind of right. That is a valid point.
Like,
and there's
this man, the guy who said, like, no, they fought. This guy is a fucking beast of a man. He literally picked up a...
No, that's not him.
Oh.
That was the admiral. This is the captain.
Oh, captain.
The captain who literally is just this fucking 60-year-old hunter that is somehow still alive, which is impressive considering you fight fucking dinosaurs
That
with a
breathes
fire.
fire.
sword.
Mhm.
And he's still fucking kicking. So the guy's like, fuck, he's probably right about this. Alright, some of the siege equipment's still in fairly decent condition, somehow. We could probably fix this up and use it during the hunt. We can set up defensive positions. We can use that Dragonator and get everything going, but we have to clear all this. We have to clear all this out of the way so we can access it. Your
Also,
handler,
like, yeah.
who is... most people consider her annoying, and I'll agree she is pretty annoying. I don't hate her as much as most people do.
I
Just
don't like
stops and goes, no way. Do you hear that? And there's nothing. There is literally no sound. There is nothing. Everyone kind of stops and starts looking around. Then you can start... shit starts shifting and falling, and everyone's like, fucking get out of here. Go, 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 go. Run, 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 run.
Oh, no,
Then your
maybe
hunter
say
just
that.
kinda
Maybe say, get out!
You're like, get out. And then everyone's like, okay, we need to back up, we need to get away, and we need to come up with a plan. And then you kind of just start walking, and then like the fucking captain looks at you, and the A-lister guy, and you kind of look at each other, and you look at the captain goes,
No.
what do you think your chances are? And the commander's like, the fuck are you saying? Literally, he's like, what? The fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, what do you think your chances are? And then the fucking... the A-lister guy looks at you, and you look at each other, and you look back, and he just goes, I think we got this. We can do this. And he's like, alright. Your orders are to buy us time to come up with a proper counterattack. Don't die. And the commander's like, don't try to kill it. Just survive as long as you can until we can come up with a better strategy and reinforcements arrive. We have it's going to be about 15 minutes. You need to hold it back for a while.
Yeah.
And basically what you have to do is you just have to do enough damage to it to access, like, the next phase of the
25% of its health.
Yeah, you have to do a quarter or a third of its health or something like that to access the next stage of the fight. You get a cutscene. The A-lister should die during the cutscene, but somehow he doesn't. Literally, the fire that shoots out of this thing is literally melting steel, like, visibly, and you can watch it melt. Yet this guy is perfectly fine, just exhausted and knocked unconscious. Don't question it, we don't know either. But the fire also clears the way of all the shit that the people were trying to clear so you could access the siege equipment. So now your arena's bigger, which is a huge bonus in the fight. Because the initial arena is fucking tiny.
It is.
You have way more room to move around in. You have a fucking minigun on a fucking rail system so that you can shoot it with. You have the Dragonator. You have all kinds of shit that you can use. You can get people to join your hunt now. You can do it multiplayer. You can start it from this part instead of the very beginning. And then you kill it. And everyone's like, holy shit! What the fuck was that thing? Because most of the monsters in the series, they look very fantasy. They don't look like... They look like creatures.
Yeah,
But
they look
none of them have that... They don't have that dragon look. Like, the Elder Dragons, they always kind of have that, like, very fantasy-esque look. That's just like, these are real creatures, but they're very... Like, one of them is basically, like, a manticore. One of them is a
like
giant...
themed towards something.
Like, one of them's a chameleon. So, like, one of them's a giant fucking snake. Like, these are not dragons. Then there's Fatalis, which literally looks like your standard Western fucking dragon. Long neck, serpentine neck, long tail, a very long body, big wings, jet black scales. So it's fucking weird in this world.
Mhm.
And this is when they go, okay, we have decided to name this thing after the event. The Fatalis event is also now the name of the monster, Fatalis. I don't know how the fuck you killed that thing, but you somehow did. I'm fairly certain you are a god now.
Kelby bow.
Oh my god.
Shut the fuck up about the Kelby bow. And then you have Monster Hunter Rise.
We're not gonna get into Rise because we've already went 20 minutes over.
Okay.
If you want to go into Rise, go buy it yourself. Good game. Something to play and wait on because I believe they're working on a new Monster Hunter game.
Yeah, it'll either be out later this year, like towards the end of this year, or probably about summer
Halfway
next
through
year.
2024.
Or it could get delayed like every other game in fucking existence right now. But yeah, go pick it up, try it out, and hope you enjoyed.